Bhagavan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Go Premanande, Hare Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming tonight to the Sunday feast. You can now all turn and face this seat, and we'll have tonight's talk from 6 until 7. And tonight's talk will be by Dravida Dasa Brahmachari. In case anyone does not know Dravida Prabhu, I know most of you, perhaps all of you do, but Dravida Prabhu has been practicing Krishna consciousness for over 50 years now. All of that time has been as a brahmachari monk, and for virtually all of that time, his primary engagement or service has been in helping with editing different books about Krishna consciousness, specifically, or mostly, the books written by Srila Prabhupada about Krishna. And tonight he'll give the talk. He also gives talks weekly in the morning, Srimad Bhagavatam class, and also Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night, every week, he gives Bhagavad Gita class at 7:15. So tonight he'll give the talk. I suspect about Ram Vijay, or no? What will your topic be tonight? That's what I thought. Teaching to Vrishabdev. Hare Krishna.
Do we usually sing the Jai Radha Madhava? We do. Okay, let's sing. Oh boy. Unexpected cramps. All right, let's... Okay. My drummer ready over there? Guess he's getting ready. We don't need a drummer. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, please give me a second to get organized here. Okay. So on this 13th day of October 2024 in San Diego, we are on the Sunday feast. It's also Ekadashi. We're going to speak a little bit tonight, quoting from Lord Rishabhdev. Lord Rishabhdev is an incarnation of Krishna, and he has his appearance in the Bhagavatam in the 5th canto, in the 5th chapter. And when Srila Prabhupada was touring India in the mid-70s, when this book came out, this was part of the, just a little history. In 1975, there was a big book production marathon. Srila Prabhupada had written the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it had been recorded, and much of it transcribed, but it was waiting to come out, to be printed, and he was getting displeased by the delay in the printing. And so he consolidated the whole BBT, Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, production in Los Angeles. I was part of that whole move from New York to Los Angeles. And some devotees don't realize that part of that marathon was the 2 volumes of the 5th canto. And so when this 5th canto was produced, it actually, most of the books, when they came out, devotees would read them and they would kind of be all kinds of new information that came out. But this 5th canto was especially full of a lot of things that was a little bit head-scratching. There was a long description of the universe, which didn't exactly jibe with what we learned in 3rd grade about, where the stars were and the constellations and things. So that was one thing. But one of the main things was the teachings of Rishabhdev, which he came in the 5th chapter of the 5th canto. And when this book came out and Srila Prabhupada was traveling around India, he gave 7, 8, 9 lectures just on the first verse of the 5th chapter of the 5th canto. Nayam deho dehabhajang loke krishtan kamanarade vidbhujang tapo divyam bhuttakayena sattvam shuddye jasma brahma saukyam tvanantam. So I'm not going to concentrate on that one, but here's this verse is it's hot chili. Let's put it that way. When you Lord Rishabhdev told his son, Lord Rishabhdev, he's an incarnation, but he's about to take sannyas also, and he's got 100 sons, one of whom is Bharat, for whom Bharata Barsha was named, and his name comes up in the Bhagavad Gita a lot. Bharata Rishabha, best of the descendants of Bharat. And the other 99 sons were also very exalted. So anyway, he's giving them his final instruction. And the first thing he says is, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and for the hogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and when one attains this position, he attains eternal, blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. So that verse Prabhupada spoke on many times in India, and later on he quoted it very often. But I wanted to go a little further, beginning with, he has a 3-verse lesson, complete lesson, beginning in the 5th verse of the 5th canto. And if you'll forgive me, I always like to chant the Sanskrit. Some of you may know this verse. Before I begin, Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, Lord Rishabhdev says to his sons, Nunam pramattak kurute vikarma yadindriya pritaya aprinoti nasadu manye yata atmanoyam asannapi kleshada asadeha. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it not befitting an intelligent person to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after another. So Prabhupada would often quote this verse, and let's put it mildly, he's not mincing words here. Nunam pramottak. But pramottak means mad, and not just mad, but very mad. Pramottak. If someone has the goal of life is sense gratification, the Prabhupada writes here in the short purport, begging, borrowing, and stealing to live for sense gratification is condemned in this verse, because such consciousness leads one to a dark, hellish condition. The four sinful activities are illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. These are the means by which one gets another material body that is full of miseries. In the Vedas it is said, asango hayam purusha. The living entity is not actually connected with this material world, but due to his tendency to enjoy the material senses, he is put into the material condition. One should perfect his life by associating with devotees. He should not become further implicated in the material body. So, here, without mincing any words, he's condemning a life that's dedicated to sense gratification. But if you think about it, that's basically what everybody is doing in this material world. Practically everyone, because if you don't get some higher instruction, if you're not trained, if you don't have some of this information of the whole different perspective of life, which is striving for the ultimate happiness, the ultimate joy, the ultimate ananda and bliss, that is billions of times greater than the flickering sense gratification, then you're going to be fooled by Maya, whose job is to cover our actual knowledge and give us a monumental con job that we can somehow enjoy in this material world and be happy. When actually, that enjoyment of the senses, which is just focused on the body, either the gross or the subtle body, ensures us to get another body and therefore to suffer birth, old age, disease, and death. And on top of that, the threefold miseries. Just contemplate for a minute. Is there anyone in this room that doesn't know about the two disastrous hurricanes that just hit Florida and other parts of the Southeast? You all know about that. You heard about that, right? So this is a perfect example of what we call adidaivik miseries, sufferings. They're caused by the devas. They're caused by natural forces. They're not directly caused by human activity. Although I've often thought, well, if we accept, okay, assuming we accept the reality of global warming and climate change, right? Just assuming that for a minute. Why do these hurricanes, why do they get so powerful? Because of the warm water in the Gulf of Mexico, which is unnaturally warm. 85 degrees, you know, and the hurricane produced on that. So it's an adidaivik misery, but there's a human element involved too, right? Pouring forth all those greenhouse gases all this time. In any case, once they start and they develop, there's nothing we can do about it. Human beings don't obviously create those, and we can't stop it. We can just try to, get out of the way and try to avoid the flooding and the winds and everything. Now, one interesting sidelight here. I have a good friend in Alachua, Florida. Alachua, Florida is north of Gainesville. It's in the northern part of the state. It's about an hour's drive from Jacksonville, just right up in the northeast corner. I used to visit there twice a year for 20 years. And so these hurricanes coming, and they're so powerful. And he was advising me, we're taking all these precautions and battening that. And I was just praying. The first one, Helene, was heading, and then I said, it looks like it's going a little north of you. I was going to see if I'll push it north, I was just pretending I could, for prayer, And sure enough, it hit Florida, but it hit the panhandle basically and went into North Carolina and Georgia and everything, caused so much havoc, many people died. Flooding, horrible flooding. And then right on the top of that comes Milton. You know, right from category 5, and it's aiming right for the central Florida. And I called my friend Indra Pramana. I said, well, it looks like you're just past the northern border. Maybe if I push it south a little bit, like I have some power, you know. But you read about it, and you know the flooding that took place, and people misplaced, and the refugees, and everything was. They didn't even lose power in Alachua. Usually they get, I mean, just a regular storm will knock it out, you know. And they had so many refugees coming from other places in Florida to Alachua, where there was no flooding. So there's a wonderful temple there. It's the most populous temple in the United States. Many old devotees live there. They have a school, a beautiful temple, deities. Some of you have visited there. It's a wonderful place. So Krishna is protecting the devotees. So back to our little lesson here from Rishabdev. He's not missing any words. We have to learn to open ourselves to the higher instruction. In order to get away from the fog of misinformation that we have suffered under since time immemorial, because Maya is telling us so many things. You're this body. You have these senses. You can enjoy. And this is not only in the human form. What about all the lower forms? The dogs also have their rudimentary sense gratification, the insects, everything. And when you read Prabhupada's books and you read the Bhagavad Gita as it is, you see that, yeah, we've been down there. You don't know how many births we've had in these lower forms. Now, the way it works is there's no eternal damnation. It doesn't work like that. There is a hell, and that's also in the 5th canto. I worked on it. My God, I remember late at night, you know, and I had these paintings on my wall that someone had painted of the different hellish punishments that are in the 5th canto. Nobody wants to have them on their wall, so they ended up in my office. I'm looking over there, oh my God, you know, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. Here's the punishment if you engage in drinking, you know, then you'll have to drink molten lead, you know, for 10,000 years, you know, then you... It'll seem like 10,000 years. It's all your subtle body, but if it seems like 10,000 years of suffering. So anyway, it's a heavy canto. So he's saying that certainly they're mad. We've been bewildered by years of conditioning in the material world to think this is the way I can be happy, by gratifying the senses and the mind. But actually you can't. It just prolongs the suffering. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to quote my verse. This is a verse from the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, text 22. where Krishna says the same thing in a very concise form. Yehi sangsparjita boga dukkha yonaya evate adyantavanta konteya niteshu ramate buddha. Those who are intelligent do not take part in the pleasures that are due of the contact of the senses with the sense objects. O son of Kunti, Krishna speaking to Arjuna, O son of Kunti, those pleasures are the sources of all misery and have a beginning and an end. And so the wise do not delight in them. So then the next question is, well, where do we go for our pleasure, for our enjoyment? So that's in the previous verse. He says, Bhayasparshesu asaktatma vindatyatmata yat sukham sam brahma yoga yuktatma sukhamakshayam ashnute. So this verse is worth contemplating too. He says, rejecting bhayasparshesu, the external tickling of the senses, they enjoy the happiness within by always linking themselves up with their consciousness to Brahman, in this case Para-Brahman, which means Krishna. Within our hearts we have this ocean of bliss that we're ignoring and we're looking out. It's just like a deer. There's a wonderful example in the 10th canto, chapter 40, I think it is, the prayers of Akrura. Akrura is known as the Acharya for prayers. He's Krishna's uncle. He's famous for the gopis. To them, he's infamous. He came to Vrindavan and took Krishna away to Mathura, and they never saw him again. Well, until much later. So anyway, but he's a beloved servant of the Lord, and so he's known for prayers, and he gives the analogy, which is famous, is that I'm just like, the conditioned soul is just like, imagine you're in an oasis in a desert, and a deer is standing on the border of the oasis and is very thirsty. Right by his feet is a nice pool of pure water, you see, but he's looking out into the desert, and he sees a mirage. And instead of looking and taking advantage of the water that's at his feet and slaking his thirst, he runs into the desert, to the mirage. And what happens? When he gets to it, it's not there. You know, or it's moved. It's got farther into it. And this is what we're doing. We have this ocean of happiness in our heart that if we just learn how to contact, then we can be happy all the time. Even in the difficulties of this material world, we can transcend them, we can tolerate them much easier because we're with Krishna. He's there. So, we should have not taken on the material body, but we made the mistake. So now the next verse, Prabhupada would also quote, and this is the one I think I really want to focus on most. So he gives this verse, Parabhavastava bodha jato yavan jigyatsa atma tattvam yavat kriyastava idam manovai karmatmakam yena sharira bandha. As long as one does not inquire about the spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance. Be it sinful or pious, karma has its resultant reactions. If a person is engaged in any kind of karma, means fruit of activity. His mind is called karmatmaka, colored with fruit of activity. And as long as the mind is impure, consciousness is unclear, and as long as one is absorbed in fruit of activity, he has to accept the material body. So this is the internal reality of what happens if we're always focused on trying to enjoy sense gratification, you see. And lamenting because I had it, but now I lost it. Or I'm getting so old, I can't enjoy what I used to enjoy. Oh my God, you see. This is the problem with it. But Krishna consciousness, we saw with Srila Prabhupada, he came to us, he was already 70. You know, he was 70. And everyone, unfortunately, I didn't meet him in 1967 or 66, but I joined in 73, and he came and visited Brooklyn and LA, where I was located. And he was invariably enthused, blissful, and full of energy for teaching Krishna consciousness, very, very wonderfully worshipping the deity, you know, installed the deities. So Srila Prabhupada was, in his age, as his body was beginning to deteriorate, he still was able to experience that pleasure of Krishna consciousness, that ananda, which is in the soul. The soul doesn't get old. The soul doesn't die. I made up a little ditty. That's kind of the theme song for Hare Krishna movement. Everybody dies. Everybody dies. Every single body dies. Every body dies. Nobody dies. Wake up and open your eyes. You're not that body or pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. That was more or less the motto when Prabhupada started the movement, you know, and on and on. So here the parabhavas. Now parabhavas means defeat. We're defeated in our mission of human life. If we don't have any assets in Krishna consciousness, we simply live for the body and physical, and we're completely absorbed in that, then we defeat it and we usually use the human form of life. At least we have to come back again. Suffer birth, old age, disease, and death. So, one will be defeated in life, and this defeat is caused by ignorance. So, as long as we do not as long as we do not inquire into Atma Tattva, the truth of the Atma, the truth of the self. And we learn in the 13th chapter, we're just studying the 13th chapter, we're all invited to our Bhagavad Gita class. We've been doing it since '89, at least 3-4 nights a week. And we're like on the third or fourth time through the whole Bhagavad Gita. We're in chapter 13, and Krishna and Arjuna asked Krishna a very, cogent question: what is Prakriti? What is this material nature? What is the soul? What is this body? How did we get it? All these different questions. So Krishna describes there that the body is like the field of activity for the soul. It's Chaitra. And the soul is the Chaitra Gya, the knower of this body. It makes perfect sense. We've all lived a certain number of years, and we can probably remember so many experiences we had at different ages. Even when we were children, I remember my first memory. Those who have heard me give class have probably heard this before. I was about, 4 years old, and I was very energetically riding a tricycle. And that's all I remember from that time. But as you go older, there's certain experiences that stick out, So we all had this, we're growing, right? The body is changing, and we can remember. So our body has changed radically. We're the same person, right? We have the same, if you will, legal name, right? That we always had. And to continue the change, And eventually, it's just a very complicated machine. I always like to say, the body itself, the human body, is proof that God exists. The amount of complexity just in the brain, they haven't figured out really how, consciousness is there, thoughts are going on. What to speak of all of the different elements of the body. I used to work in a hospital, and I take a break and I go into this room, this break room, and they had a stand there with all kinds of magazines. This is back in '72. Like now, the science has just exploded much more. And there'd be one on the kidney, and there'd be one on this, and then one on that specialty in hearts and all this. And I'd open them up, and all this technical knowledge and everything. So they've been increasing the knowledge, but still, it's a mystery. It's a mystery. Anyway, so eventually the machine will break down. Right? It's not a mystery. It's not no. Everyone believes that we'll have to leave the body eventually, right? But it's not the end. It's just another chapter and we open up for the long book that is our life in the material world. But the point is, whatever we have achieved, so-called achieved in this world, the bank balance, the relation we may have sired so many sons and we have so many grandsons and everything. But when you leave this body, it's all gone. It's all gone. You take another body, hopefully human, but not necessarily, and you start a whole new chapter. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, this is a famous verse, Sarvasya chaham vidisannivishto mattak smritir jnanam apohanamcha. I live in everyone's heart as the super soul, and for me come knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. And sometimes that forgetfulness is a very great boon, When some of these poor soldiers, they come back from war, and they've been through so much stuff. They got PTSD, used to call shell shock in World War I, and they can't forget the things they've seen. And a lot of it is moral injury, meaning they've been, by following orders, they've done certain things, and so many children are killed, and they feel responsible. And it's horrible. So, Krishna, but you take another body and you forget it all. That's Krishna's blessing, right? But because of your karma, what body you take, what family you get born into, that's determined like that. But now here's a very great boon. Just by coming to this class one time, it may not be that great, I'm not saying this, but at least you're sitting here, the deities are here, you see, and you're hearing the philosophy. That's your beginning in devotional service. That's in your bank account, your transcendental Krishna conscious bank account. And you won't be lost, no matter what you do. And when you die, that'll bring you into a situation, human form, where you'll be able to continue in your Krishna consciousness. Now, if we're really, really intelligent and ambitious, why not try to complete the course in this one life? Or try to make as much advancement as possible by becoming serious, so that in our next birth, we'll have really good chance to complete the course. That's the whole idea. Because anything you do materially, any relationship you have, any money you collect, any relationships, is all going to disappear. I'm going to have to move this foot. I'm getting cramps, and hopefully this will help. Okay. Sorry, I'm an old guy now. All right, so let's look at this verse. So he's saying, now the key phrase, not najigyasata atma tattvam, as long as you do not inquire into the truth of the self. Now the Srimad Bhagavatam is said to be, Lord Chaitanya took it as, and that's why he didn't write or ask to be written, a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is the essence of all the Vedic spiritual knowledge. It doesn't deal with how you can worship this God and go to heaven. No, it's the essence of spiritual knowledge, the essence, and that's why it's not an accident. Prabhupada's name is Bhakti Vedanta, meaning the end of the knowledge is Bhakti, pure devotional service and love for God. So, what's the first aphorism? Who can say? Aphorism means a little, Prabhupada called them codes, little phrases. All right, raise your hand. Brahmapati Prabhu? Yes. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Let's get those mics out so that if we have, we can have questions. There's one there. So, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. This is a call to every human being. Atata means now, therefore. The ata. It's Brahma Jigyasa. What is Brahma? That'll be answered in the next sutra. But Jigyasa is the key. Jigyasa means inquiry. One should be inquire. One should be curious about. Because when you think about it, in every stage of life, we're always inquiring about something. Oftentimes, as children, we're inquiring, what's to eat? When is dinner? Where did the cookies go? You know what I mean? And there's basic questions like that. Or, then we're thinking, what's on TV? Or what, then you're with this thing. But you think about it, you're inquiring. You're asking a question. Did my girlfriend call? Why not? Whatever. So, but that's not the jigyasa we need. We need Brahma jigyasa. So he says, jigyasata, it's echoing. This is the Bhagavatam, which is the commentary. Atma Tattvam. Atma Tattvam is also Brahman. It means the truth of the self. Or we would say, after reading the 13th of the selves, Krishna says, I am also the knower of the Chaitra. I am also the Atma within the soul, the Paramatma. We are the Anuatma, we're the Jivatma, individual, little tiny soul, but we never die as souls, as spirit, that's the thing. We never were born and we never will die. But we will change our situation if we don't go back to guided. So one has to inquire into the truth of the self, not just externally. And until we do that, we will be defeated birth after birth. Then yavat tavat, there's this wonderful comedy in Sanskrit. As long as you don't do this, you won't get that. Yavat kriyas, as long as you act fruitively, kriyas, tavat, that long, the mind, manovai karmatmakam, will be saturated with these material desires. Now, I always like to bring up the science or the practice of advertising. Everyone knows what that is, right? So what are they trying to do with that advertising? You're turning the corner from Ingram onto Grand. It's a big intersection, right? And they know that you get stuck there waiting for the left turn, and so they have various billboards, right? They keep changing. So what are they going to do? They try to grab your attention for whatever time you have to look at the billboard so that they can plant a desire in your heart. Let me check that out. This says that I can invest in this and so forth, or whatever it may be, right? They're planting a desire seed in your heart that they hope you'll follow and give them money. So the whole material world is like that. They're trying to get your attention, isn't it? That's the big thing online, right? They try to get your attention so that they can sell you something. Then now they have a record. Oh, he likes this kind of thing, or she likes this. Then we'll give them that, and we'll bring them in. That's where the big money is, getting your attention. So Krishna is trying to get our attention. And Lord Chaitanya started his movement, Sankirtan, right? The process is, the great boon in this age, it's an ocean of faults, let's face it. This is not a great age. It's impossible to practice meditative yoga. I tried it. That was the first yoga I did. What am I going to meditate on? We have certain mantras. All right, I'll try Om. Have you ever tried Om? Okay, Om, But I could, 15 minutes and my mind was all over the place, Eventually, I got the Hare Krishna mantra. And by chanting that, there's some sweetness there. There's some attraction just by chanting, And especially with the music. There's something called Talya Trikena. I bring this up, but most people don't know it, even those who speak Sanskrit. Talya Trikena is singing, dancing, and playing musical instruments. Now think about what a force from Maya that can be. The raves and the rock concerts and all these things, singing and dancing. Every day I take a walk, a japa walk up Cass Street, right? And it's really good because I'm going up the street, I walk more than half a mile up to this big 11-story building. As soon as they built that building, they had a meeting, and the board that runs Pacific Beach says, no, we have to put a top on it. You can't build buildings that high anymore, because otherwise it'll all look like Waikiki Beach, Waikiki in Hawaii. We have all these big hotels, I didn't want that. But anyway, it's a good landmark, so I'm walking up there, and there's a new gym that opened up. And it's more than just a gym. You walk by there, and there's all kinds of heavy metal music playing, and so I'm walking and I'm chanting, and sometimes it's crowded, and sometimes people are walking their dogs, so I can just walk right out into the bike lane. There's a bike lane. It's 6:30 in the morning. There's no one riding bikes, so I just nicely just walk by PC back onto it. but so it's if you don't inquire into this Atma Tattva, then your mind will remain filled with material desires. Kriyastad idam manovai, and it's called karmatmaka. The mind is conditioned with all these material desires unfulfilled, and that will bring you back again. Maybe to a human body, maybe not. Because that's the way it works, is that it's the subtle body that doesn't die. The mind, the intelligence, the ego, they don't die when the body dies, when the gross body dies. And it's those template of that subtle body that is the template of the next body. So, if you don't inquire into the Atma Tattva, then it'll all be material desires and you get another material body. And in this age, it's likely you'll get a subhuman body. Sharira Bandha. So, let's see what Prabhupada says here. Okay, we have a little time. Generally, people think that one should act very piously to be relieved from misery, but this is not a fact. Even though one engages in this means materially pious activity and speculation, one is nonetheless defeated. His only aim should be emancipation from the clutches of Maya, illusion, and all material activities. Speculative knowledge and pious activity don't solve the problems of material life. One should be inquisitive to understand his spiritual position. As stated in the Gita 437, Yatai Dangsi Samidhokmir Basmasat Kurate Arjuna, Gyanagni Sarvakarmani Basmasat Kurate Tata. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjun, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. So he's emphasizing the importance of informing ourselves what reality is. Who are we really? Why are we why am I suffering in this world? Why am I being forced to die, and who knows what will happen? You see? These are the questions, the first questions. And Lord Chaitanya answers. He's Krishna himself. Krishna answers in the Bhagavad Gita. And Lord Chaitanya says in the teachings to Sanatana Goswami, who asked this question. He was very learned. He was a prime minister, and his brother was the finance minister, Rupa Goswami. And after they met Lord Chaitanya, he instructed them to go to Vrindavan, quit everything, and they did. So Sanatan, I think he had the instruction first, or was it Rupa? I forget. But anyway, he met Lord Chaitanya in Banaras, and then 4 chapters, I think it's 4 chapters in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, at least 4, are the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to Sanatan, and they're the most detailed, and they're very important. So he took a very humble position, in spite of he had so much influence and knowledge of different languages and everything, but he took a very humble position, put a straw in his teeth. He bowed down to Lord Chaitanya, Dandavats, and he asked him the question, who am I? Why am I suffering in this world? If I don't know the answer to these questions, what's the use of all my so-called learning? You see? And so Lord Chaitanya gave this mortal answer. It's Krishna. Lord Chaitanya is none different from Krishna. He's Krishna himself. Jivera swarupoi, Krishnera nityadas, Krishnera tatasta shakti, Beda Bed Prakash. So it's worth investigating this. So the jiva, that's who we are, jiva soul, the minute, indestructible particle of consciousness, forever related to Krishna. And therefore, jiva swarupoi, the swarup, the actual form, our in unchangeable form, is Krishnera Nityadas, an eternal servant of Krishna. You see? Why? Krishnera tatasta shakti. We are Krishna's spiritual marginal energy. Marginal means that we're kind of situated between the material and the spiritual. And then that marginal position is never changed. We're in the spiritual world, we're also marginal. That means we have the power, we have the tendencies to turn away from Krishna, get absorbed in the material energy, and then try to exploit it and be mastered of the material energy, which is Krishna's position. And that's the origin of our whole problem, is that each one of us turned away from Krishna, we forgot our actual nature, and instead of serving Krishna, we're serving our senses. We're serving these unwanted desires. And sometimes we're serving our anger and our fury and losing our intelligence and doing things that we would never normally do. So, Krishna tatasta shakti, Beda Bed Prakash, means that we are simultaneously one with and different from Krishna. We're one with Krishna in quality. Krishna is eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. We're also eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss, in our original position. But when we turn away from Krishna, we have a tendency to be covered by Maya's energy, and we forget. It's a life of forgetfulness. So what Srila Prabhupada worked so hard to give us was the opportunity to get the actual knowledge and to act on that knowledge and gradually purify the consciousness so that the eternal reality of love for God is awakened again. This is a few verses later, he teaches Sanatana, another critical verse. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi Shovanadi Shuddha Chitte Kadayayudoi. And this is related to the Shikshastika too, I'll tell you in a minute. This is the 8 verses of instruction on the holy name. So the eternal perfection of Krishna Prema, love for Krishna, is not something artificial that we have to bring from outside. It's intrinsic to the soul. Nitya Siddha Sadhya Kabunoi Shovanadi Shuddha Chitte. By hearing of Krishna, hearing the holy name, and Adi means also the rest, hearing, chanting, remembering, and so forth. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte. The consciousness becomes purified, and that natural love awakens. It's already there, but it's being misdirected into sense gratification, and that's why we're suffering. So how to reawaken that how to purify ourselves of these unwanted things so the natural love comes out? Primarily by hearing and chanting the holy name. And that's the first words of the Shikshastika. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. You know what that means? By this congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, which is the great benediction for the age, the mirror of the heart, mirror of the mind becomes purified, and we can see ourselves as we really are, with spirit, but not matter. You see? And as soon as we understand that and act on it, we're liberated, even in this body. Bhava Mahada Vagni Neva. What is the Bhava? Bhava is totally different from Bhava. Don't confuse it. Bhava is the stage before love of God. Bhava means change, ever changing, birth and death, old age and disease, which is Mahada Vagni. It's a big forest fire. But the congregational chanting of the holy name of Krishna extinguishes the fire. Nirvapanam. And then one is on his way toward the ultimate good fortune for himself and for others. Shreya Kayadava Chandikavadanam. That chanting, that congregational chanting, is like spreads the rays of the benediction moon. Prabhupada's original translation. You can't beat that. The benediction moon means that Shreya is the ultimate good, and when one chants, one experiences it himself, and you chant publicly, and you're giving it out to others. You're giving others a chance to do it, and that's how this movement is spread. Vidya Vadu Jivanam, and the natural knowledge, and knowledge is also there. It's been buried from uncounted births. The knowledge of the self, the knowledge of Krishna, the relationship, who we are. We've forgotten it all, but it's in there. So that chanting is the life and soul of transcendental knowledge. You become interested in this subject matter so that you can inquire from the right source, which in this age means primarily Srila Prabhupada's books and those who are following those books carefully. And so then the blazing fire, the fire of knowledge burns to ashes the reaction to material activities. Unless one understands the self and its activities, one has to be considered in material bondage. In the Bhagavatam 2.10.32 it said, Yen yeda bindaksha vimuktamana. This means that those who think they're liberated, the impersonalists, they're not really. And they may rise up to Brahman, but they come down again because they have no bhakti. You know? Would you like to live... You know, sometimes about these sensual deprivation chambers. Have you ever? Is that what they call it? What do they call those? Where it's perfect temperature, and they do something with the water so you float, and it's, I can just relax here forever. Wait a minute. What time is it? I got to go to work. You know, I got to go home, cook my husband's dinner. You can't stay up there. It's like coming out of the Brahmajyoti. The point is, there's no bhakti there. There's no Krishna. You don't have a body. You don't have anything to do. All that you achieved is, for some time, no birth, no death, no old age, no disease. I'm in bliss. But it's negative, you see. Unless you are positively engaged in service of the Lord, and then you can stay because it's ever new pleasure, in relation to Krishna. That's what we want. So, I won't be able to read this whole purport. But the whole idea is that unless we inquire, and it's a great opportunity. Srila Prabhupada's books are here. It's very helpful to have them on your shelf at home. The Bhadra Purnima is coming, isn't it? Fairly sure, soon, next month. The month of there's a verse at the end of the Bhagavatam describing how auspicious it is to give the gift of the Srimad Bhagavatam on the full moon day of the month of Bhadra. Ramapati, when is that month? When is that month?
It's done. It was in last.
Oh, we finished it already? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's auspicious to give it any day. You can quote me. And not only give it, but read it. You read it and you give it. Huh? We're coming up on Kartik. So I missed the month of Bhadra. Oh, okay. Anyway. Maybe I get credit for editing it, in the 10th canto. Anyway, and finally, so this is the last verse in this series. There's only 3, and I'll end here. Evamana karma vasham payunte avidyamanupadiamane. And here's like the most important line in this. Priti niyavan mai vasudeve namuchate dehi yogena tavat. When the living entity is covered by the mode of ignorance, he does not understand the individual living being and the supreme living being, and his mind is subjected to fruitive activity. Therefore, until one has love for Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, who is none other than myself, this is not myself, this is Lord Rishabdev speaking, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept the material body again and again, which means you want mukti, you have to have bhakti. There's no mukti without bhakti. He's saying it right here. Priti niyavan maya vasadev namuchite. Muchite is a variation of mukti. Dehi yogena tav. No living from being tied to a deha, to a material body. So if you're interested in getting free from birth, death, old age, and disease, and the threefold miseries, then you should practice bhakti. And the wonderful thing after a while is that after a while you won't even care. What does Lord Chaitanya say? Nadanang, nadanang, nasundari. He's giving us an example of how to pray. You're so much in experiencing the bliss of bhakti 24 hours a day that you say, I don't care, even if I have to go to hell, as long as I can keep serving Krishna. You see? Birth after birth. Lord says, birth after birth, let me have pure devotion to you. So, even though you don't want it, Krishna will give it to you. But the point is, it's evolution. We have to start by really seeing the miseries of this material world. We don't want to continue them. We want to be happy and peaceful in this world as far as possible and go back to Godhead. But in the course of purification, if one really advances, he's just experiencing moment to moment the bliss of serving Krishna. And Prabhupada always said 24 hours a day. How is that? That means in your dreams also. So this is an advanced state. But we should understand the importance of it. And here, Prabhupada's books every day, we have them in our house, then, you offer, I remember, this is one little vignette, then I'll end here. Trying to finish this Bhagavatam was not an easy thing. This was not, the Prabhupada got through 13 chapters of the 10th canto, leaving 77 chapters of the 10th canto, 32 chapters of the 11th canto, and 13 chapters of the 12th canto, untranslated and uncommentated on. So, I had the good fortune of working with 2 of the most erudite Sanskrit scholars in ISKCON at the time, Hridayananda Das Goswami and Gopi Puranadana Prabhu, for 6 years, in 83 to 89. And we were working on the books and everything, but there were certain problems that developed and the books weren't coming out. And so our manager at that time, his name was Dineshwar. Some of you remember Dineshwar. He was there in Miami, and he said, we have to worship the Bhagavatam. So we went up to the temple room and we built a little altar and we put up the books that we had, all the ones that had been published. And we had an aratik and we circumambulated and glorified the Bhagavatam, like that. And lo and behold, it wasn't long before things were moving better and we were actually able to complete it. So the Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna. And I encourage you all to read the Bhagavatam. You can check it out online and start reading it. It's very auspicious to have it in one's home. It's just like a deity, you see. And beautifully illustrated. Prabhupada took the trouble of putting in not only the original Sanskrit, but the word-by-word transliteration So you can, I didn't know Sanskrit, but I know English, and once you learn how to pronounce these syllables and everything, the Sanskrit language is so beautiful, you know. And the songs, you find in the 10th canto, the gopis' separation songs from Krishna, you know. The gopis are at home, and they're thinking of Krishna, and they start singing of him, and this is how they remember him. Vama baha kata vama kapolo valgita bodhadarapata venam komalanga dibarashita magam gopeda yati yatra makunda vyomayana vanita sahasiddha vismitasta dupadaya salajja kama marga nasamapata chitta kashmanam nihadapasmita nivya. You don't have any language like that, other like that, like anywhere in the world. So what are they saying? Oh, gopis, when Krishna holds the flute, he has his left shoulder on his left cheek. Now, I used to play the flute. You have the left shoulder. He's playing one of the long flutes, you know, like this. There's a long one, and he plays a little short. So they're remembering him playing that. And when he plays, the demigoddesses flying in the airplanes with their husbands, they hear the sound. They say, "Oh, let's go down and listen," you know. And they begin to get a little embarrassed because they're getting attracted to Krishna, and because they're right next to their husbands, you know. And then Vishwanath Chakrabarti, he points out, and the husbands are embarrassed because they're also getting attracted to Krishna. Anyway, that's not part of the commentary. But that's just one of their verses, you know, and it goes on like that. And there's three or four Gopi Gitas, different, beautiful, beautiful language, and very cogent and concise philosophical presentation. Prabhupada gave us so much wonderful commentary throughout his, you know, what he gave. So it's a great treasure. And I would, you know, save up for it if you want, and get a set of the Bhagavatams. Any of our book distribution guys would be happy to show you a set. But this is just one little lesson, and there's so much more Shabdas has to tell. And here, this lesson from tonight is, okay, don't be bewildered by the attraction of sense gratification, because it's a source of misery. It keeps you bound to this material world. Rather, use your time, your spare time, to investigate this philosophy from the books of Prabhupada. Begin with the Bhagavad Gita. So everything is there. And you can tune on our class. It's available on YouTube, 7:15, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And this way, you'll be following remember this, until you inquire into what is the soul, and what is the relationship with the soul, and how can I build on that relationship. Then you're going to be subject to the suffering of this birth, death, old age, and disease. So that's my little trying to do Prabhupada service tonight. And there's a little tiny time for questions or comments. Go ahead.
Prabhu, so in Krishna Lila, we see Krishna killing demons, and they're merging into Krishna's body, getting liberation. But they're demons, they don't have any bhakti.
I know. That's why they have to merge.
So they merge, become one with Krishna, no more material body, end of suffering. And they become God because they merged.
Well, they don't really become God.
Well, they merged into the body of God, and that's just almost the same as being God.
There's a question whether they have any consciousness in there. I mean, what are they thinking?
Well, I don't know. maybe they're not there anymore. Maybe they're just merged
anyway,
and lost their identity.
We don't want to even think about doing that, you know. and first of all, these are special souls that get to be killed by Krishna. I mean, Putana, she didn't merge. She got a special benediction. Putana, in my book, Putana was the worst demon. I mean, can there be anyone more evil, more abominable than someone whose whole business is going around killing babies, sucking their blood? That's what a Putana is. And so she said, well, this is my specialty, so Kamsa wants to kill Krishna, little baby Krishna. So I'll just walk in, you know, she was a yogi, she disguised herself as a very beautiful woman, and she came into the maternity room there, and Yashoda and Rohini said, oh, it's nice to have, must be the goddess of fortune or something. So she said, can I suckle Krishna? He says, sure, go ahead, you know. Oh, now I got my chance, because she had smeared her breast with the poison. So she sat down, and Krishna knew exactly what was going on. And he started sucking her breasts, and he was sucking out her whole life. And she said, leave me, and she expanded into original form. Was it 8 miles? I always forget. I think it was 8 miles. Horrible form, and expanded, yelling, screeching. The gopis were, everyone was afraid. And what happened to Krishna? They didn't know he's God. They just think he's a little fragile little baby. And there he was, after Putin is dead, playing on her breast. Pick him up. Then they had all kinds of ceremonies for Krishna's safety. Let this God protect you when you walk, and this, and like. So that was the first. But she was special because she was the worst. But she got a place. Krishna said, well, she's offered me her breast. I'll take that part and leave everything else beside. And he awarded her a place in Goloka as a wet nurse and a help for Yashoda. She was Yashoda's friend, and when Krishna needed, okay. Pretty amazing. So that's a special case.
But you're saying, though, if you merge and become one with Krishna, you have to come back out again? It's not a permanent situation?
I don't know, but what I'm saying is, I don't know if you what is your consciousness in there? Are you really super conscious? I mean, I don't know. It's not something that we want to, for a devotee, it's, no, I want to serve Krishna. I don't want to be within Krishna or anything like that. But it's better than certainly being a demon on earth and suffering all of this stuff. So it is a blessing for them, but not the highest blessing.
But it's not eternal.
I don't want to say that, because I don't know for sure. Oh. But it's not something that we would want to think about. But it just shows Krishna's mercy. That even these demons, when he kills them, except for special cases like Shishupal and the others, which eventually went back to Vaikuntha, they were Jai and Vijay. So even though Kashipu and Aranyaksha, pretty, and Ravana, we just burned Ravana, we burned him again every time, we burned him every year. And, but he was Jai and Vijay. He had another birth to take, but they eventually went back to, to at least the gates of Vaikuntha. So I don't know, but it's not something a devotee would want to do. Kaibo yam narakayati. Merging is like going to hell. Better to be able to serve Krishna in this material world than in hell. Any other comment or question? I know it's time. Okay. Oh, Marcy? Yes. Or is it Mercy? They misspelled her name on the birth certificate. Go ahead, Mercy.
Tomorrow is for Goswami's disappearance day.
What's the name?
Goswami's?
Yeah, I know, but what I forget.
There are 4 of them.
Oh, yes, it's a big day.
Yeah.
Disappearance day. Yes, Raghunath Das and Krishna's Kaviraj and 2 others. Yeah.
So the question is, why do they all disappear on the same day but different years?
You want me to answer that? You think I've never heard. It's actually 3: Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. What's so special about tomorrow, astrologically, that they picked that day to disappear?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'll just be honest with you. I can try to research it. I have it, but yeah, just drop me a note, text me, okay? Really, I'll see, but there may be a reason for that.
Yeah.
And that would be interesting to know what's special about this Gaura Paksha Dwarasi. All right, we should adjourn. We don't have any announcements from our Dayanidhi Prabhu? Is he there? Yeah. Okay, he has the announcements. Very good. Thank you for your attention. All glories to Prabhupada. Haribol.
Thank you, Dravida Prabhu.